Good evening, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on Steam. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I do apologize if I've got a little sinus thing going on, guys, so I apologize for my voice if you guys hear something raspy. That's what it is. But anyway, we're looking at Steam to Bitcoin 4-hour chart on Bittrex, guys, and last time we spoke, Steam had broken out of this ascending support line here. It had broken down. I told you that more than likely we were going to find support at 12,100 Satoshi. I told you if that was to hold, I would expect a bounce in that area. Sure enough, price came down. Consolidated right on top of that zone, guys, and then just impulsed right up. I wouldn't necessarily call that an impulse, but that's where we got a very, very nice bounce. I told you to look for resistance about 13,100 Satoshi. That was where the resistance area was. Price didn't quite make it up there, made it to about 13,000 before breaking down, and now we're consolidating sideways between those zones. If you did take that trade, congratulations, guys. I went ahead and got out of it about 12.8. I still obviously own some Steam, but took a little bit of trade down here at 12.1 and sold at about 12.8 thousand Satoshi. But anyway, guys, we're sitting here consolidating, moving sideways as of now, and the question is, which direction is it going to go next? If we zoom in here, we can see a couple things. We can see that there's a decent supply zone right here. Let me get rid of this line here. We don't need this anymore. We can see that there's a decent supply zone right here, guys. Price came up right in there. Yeah, price came up. We can see broke down, wick, broke right down, came up, nice long wick, broke right down, came up, wick, broke down. So this is a decent supply zone up here. Obviously, there's some sell orders that are sitting up here between about 12.8, 12.7, and 13.1 thousand Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts, guys. And we can see it's getting kind of sandwiched between these two zones. We can see that there's also, if I zoom in here, especially on the hourly, we can see that price has created a little bit on the hourly chart. We can see it a lot better, a little bit of a demand zone right in here. And this is where price is kind of consolidating between the two, trying to decide on a direction, trying to decide on which way we can go. Now, in my opinion, I do think there's a very good, obviously Steam is following Bitcoin, so whatever Bitcoin does, Steam is going to more than likely follow. That being said, if Bitcoin was out of the picture and if Bitcoin just ends up moving sideways, I do think there's a good chance Steam comes back down, test this zone down here. Pardon me, guys. Test this zone down here. If it does break below this this zone here, if it does break below, let me go ahead and pull our fib out. If we go swing low, swing high, we can see that it's literally bouncing right off the 618. Typically, anytime you get a nice strong bounce like we had here, I was rather optimistic. I wanted to see price come up and just crash right through the resistance. That's not what we saw. Price came back up, didn't even make it all the way up to the supply zone here before falling back over. That's a rather bearish sign. It just kind of lost momentum. Now, if we can get a nice bounce here, almost creating on the hourly chart, we can see it's almost creating this double bottom pattern. Price came down, back up, right back down, almost creating a double bottom right on the 618. We get and we did have a nice little bounce right here. I would like to see some follow through with that, but if we do break below this 618 fib, so if we do break below about 12.1, or excuse me, about 12.4 to 12.3 thousand Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts, guys, I do think we're going to come back down and retest this zone down here at about, pardon me, guys. This sinus thing is terrible. At about 12.1 thousand Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts. Now, this is the area, guys, that if it does come in here, this is where I'm going to more than likely probably stack in some buy orders, but with a very, very tight stop. I would expect a decent bounce off of this zone here if we do come in here. That being said, if this zone does break down, if 12,100 Satoshi does break down, guys, there's a very, very good chance that it collapses. There's not a lot of resistance between about, if we get a decisive break, I should say. Now, it may wick through that zone like it did back here. I'm not concerned about that, but if we get a decisive break, and again, if you've watched my videos by now, you know I mean by decisive, a 4-hour candle that not just opens, not just closes, but both opens and closes below 12,100 Satoshi. I do think it'll be a very quick drop down to this demand zone starting at about 11,000 Satoshi to about 9.8 thousand Satoshi, somewhere thereabouts down in here, guys. There's just not a lot of resistance between that 12.1 and 11,000 Satoshi. That being said, we're obviously nowhere near there yet. At this point, guys, we're watching to see if this 618 holds, if about 12,100 or 12,400 Satoshi holds. If that does, I think we're going to take another crack at the supply zone up here. And if this supply zone does end up breaking through, I do think there's going to be a very quick rise. If we can break decisively, and again, by decisively, if we can get a 4-hour candle that both opens and closes above 13,100 Satoshi, I think it'll be a very quick rise up to this zone up in here, or at least, sorry guys, what I wanted, or at least right here, we can see it kind of created another little supply zone right here, starting at about 13,400 satoshi. So if it does break above 13.1, it'll be a quick rise to 13.4. Very likely though, guys, if it does end up breaking up here, guys, I do think 13.4 may act as a resistance, although I do think more than likely it's going to come up to this zone up here, starting at about 13,800 satoshi. We can see more than likely when it breaks through, it usually at least wicks through that zone, and it's wicked through so many times up here, this resistance is getting weak. If we pull back, we can see that this was a very strong supply zone up here. Price came up, wick down, or excuse me, it came up, wick, 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 broke down, wick, wick, or actually this was a body, broke down, wick, wick, broke down, wick, wick, and then we had this long body, this candle that just crashed right through it before breaking right back down on the 4-hour chart. So this is weakening this resistance up here, which means if price can come up to this zone and start consolidating sideways, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign. And at that point, I think it's going to be if it can consolidate in this zone, I think it'll be a very quick rise up to about 15,600 satoshi at least. This supply zone up here, and this is going to act as a strong support, or excuse me, a strong resistance if it does end up getting there. But getting ahead of myself, guys, just kind of want to give you an idea of what to look for if and when price does move. For now, all eyes are on this zone down here at about 12,400 to see if that can hold. If that can't hold, we're going to take another crack at this 13.1 in my opinion. If we're looking for a trade setup, I would wait for the trade to come to you, which means I'd wait for price to break down to this 12,100 satoshi. If that doesn't happen, so be it. And we'll have to reevaluate if it does break up here and you miss that trade. Again, so be it, guys. But I'm not seeing a good trade setup at the moment on Steam unless you're going long. If you're going long, by all means, you can start dollar cost averaging in for the long haul. But as far as a day or a swing trade, I'm not seeing a good trade setup until it gets down to about 12,100 satoshi. That'd be where the risk to reward is. But if it breaks above 13.1, we could reevaluate then. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.